Welcome back to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode number 83. Dave, what is going on today?
Oh, not much. I'm just quite bundled up here. It's pretty cold here in the Nashville area. But other than that, not too much. What's going on with you?
I'm the opposite of you, man. 98 all week. So summer never ends out here, so we'll take it. Coming back from that beautiful weather we had on the East Coast to this in just a quick 24 hours. We went from, sweatshirts and chilly mornings to t-shirts, tank tops, and 98 again.
It's funny. Most of the time, like you always think when you're traveling, like, yeah, you can be from a really cold place to a really warm place like that on an airplane, right? But you did it in a car, and I can't wait to hear about it. Yeah, you went from a place where it was like 52 when you left Nashville to now you're at upper 90s. So, and you did that all with a drive. Good for you.
Dude, it's just insane. As you know, those that have listened to the show, I love driving across the country.
You do. You always tell me how much you hate driving, but clearly that is a lie.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know why I do it to myself anymore, but I do it, and that's just the way it is. Yeah, so we're excited to today's episode. We're going to talk about that trip. Dave and I got to hang out not once but twice in the same week, which was awesome. So yeah, everything it was a good adventure filled, family filled, and that's going to be the theme of today's episode, family filled episode, which is just, it was awesome. And let's get into it. Dave, why don't you kick us off with some number 83s?
Yeah, great number 83s here. A few of them on the list. And I've even got a surprise for you tucked down below because I did my research. That's right, I did my research. But we're going to start where else? The NFL. That's where most of the high 80s are. The first guy that comes to mind, Ted Hendricks. Great stats on this guy. 35 blocked field goals or point after attempts in his career. 35. I mean,
it's the greatest statistic of all time.
Staggering. It's staggering. To go along with 26 interceptions, 8 Pro Bowls, 4 safeties in 15 seasons. He was an All-Pro 4 times. Ted Hendricks. 35, I'm going to go back to it, blocked field goals or point after attempts in 15 seasons. I mean,
what is that? One and a half per season? Or no, that's two.
More than
two and an eighth. Two and a quarter. I mean, dude, that's just outrageous.
Yeah, and then just under 2 interceptions per season. Crazy.
How many guys don't even block a kick in their entire life? And this guy blocked 35 kicks. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, the Cowboys blocked. The Cowboys blocked one on the first game of the season this year against the Giants, and I can't remember the last time I saw one before that. So it's just like crazy. What a stat!
I wonder if he ever blocked any punts. Was there a blocked punt statistic in there, or was it just field goals and PATs?
I didn't see a blocked punt statistic, so maybe not. But 35 of the field goal variety or extra point variety, so pretty awesome.
Interesting.
Moving along on the list here, Andre Reed, great wideout for the Buffalo Bills. Check this: 951 receptions, 7 Pro Bowls. He had 88 touchdowns to go along with just under 13,200 yards receiving. He was a receiver in 5 AFC championship games and 4 Super Bowls and never won one.
Yeah, that's anybody who played on those early 90s Bills teams, you feel for him, the Jim Kellys, the Thurman Thomases of the world, because they were just the Bruce Smiths. They were just so good. They dominated the AFC and went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row and lost to the NFC East all 4 years.
It's one of those things I always think, like, would I rather be the Bills of the early 90s or like my Cowboys are now, who can't even sniff a championship game, let alone a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'd want to be there at least.
No. You don't want to go to 4 Super Bowls and lose. No way. Absolutely not.
I don't know, man. It's pretty miserable when you can't watch your team past the first weekend of the playoffs. Just going to say that out loud.
But at least you've won a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's the key. You've won a game.
Yeah, I suppose.
You've won 5 of them. You know what I mean? They've never won a single one. They went to 4 straight and lost every time. And, that might be even more staggering that it was to the NFC East every time. Washington, the Cowboys, and the Giants. So not only did you make 4, you lost to the same division 4 times in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And other than I don't remember the Redskins one, but the Giants one was a 1-point game, but the 2 Cowboy games, blowouts. I mean, annihilated them.
Yeah, and I don't
remember the Redskin game.
I don't know if the Redskins game was close or not, but yeah, dude. Anyways, not enough about the Bills, but Andre Reed, obviously just a world-class football player.
Had a great wide receiver.
Had a great quarterback, and kudos to his career statistics.
Yeah. Okay, I know you're a resident NASCAR fan, but I threw one in here. Brian Vickers, 141 races with the 83 car, 1 win, 22 top 5s, and 34 top 10s. Not too bad for Brian Vickers.
Who else? Dude, I swear there was another 83 that was famous. Who drove?
There might have been a famous 83, but they weren't more famous than him. He had the best statistical career driving the 83 car.
Yeah, no, no. I believe that. I'm just saying. I swear there was. Who was it? I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to find it right now, but I could have sworn
it is right. But here's your surprise. Here's your surprise in the show. I promised earlier. Teased it. Yeah, I've got a soccer player in here.
Yeah, I did see that you did
Antonio Morante, Italian goalkeeper. I remember seeing him in the World Cup. I think I also remember seeing him in the Euros a couple times.
Yeah.
And I threw him in there. I don't know any stats about him, how many saves he's got, or I don't know how you calculate how good he was, but that's me putting it in there for you.
Well, the fact of the matter is that a goalkeeper wore 83 is just the most astonishing thing, more than anything else. A goalkeeper wore 83.
I wouldn't know.
I guess in football and soccer, it doesn't really matter what number you wear as the goalkeeper. I mean, it really don't matter what you wear anyway. I mean, obviously, most positions, like top tier guys, play. Like the number 9's your striker, the number 10 is sits behind your striker. Your number 7 plays out on the wing. Number 4, plays right back. So like a lot of guys do wear the number, but the most common, obviously, most strikers wear number 9. So. But no, yeah, goalkeepers can kind of do their own thing. They don't really have to wear a certain number because no one really pays attention to them anyway. Besides when they make saves or in penalty kicks, that's about it.
I think I remember seeing some pretty good saves from him.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
does he still play? I don't know if he does. He doesn't still play, does he?
I don't think so. No, if he does, he's not the. Okay. No, I don't think so.
He could be a superstar in the MLS at this point. I don't know.
Well, yeah, if you play in European soccer and then you go you go to the MLS, then you most likely can play into your 60s and still be the best player on the field. So, most guys are collecting Social Security, but if you want to play in the MLS, you could be the star of your team and be the highest paid player. Moving along,
not a bad side gig.
Yeah, no, listen, it's a good retirement plan for sure. But moving along, solid list number 83. I mean. The statistic of the blocked field goals and PATs is astonishing. Andre Reed, to me, stands out amongst everybody with the number 83. But moving on to the Bible verse, and it comes from Proverbs. I may have used this before, but it's a good one to always reconnect with this one every time I read it. And it's Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. It's very simple, straightforward. And true, commit to the Lord, and He's going to establish, His plans for you, whether you like it or not. He's establishing those plans for you. So, it's very simple, straightforward. But Proverbs 16:3 is your Bible verse. But moving along to today's episode. Today's episode is, like I said, it's surrounded. The main theme of today's episode is really the importance of being next to your loved ones and your family and how important it is, especially in times of trouble or times of worry or kind of like the world that we live in right now. You mentioned touching on what this crazy world is. There's a war going on in the Middle East. Shocker. Israel and Palestine and, Iran's involved and with terrorists and all this other stuff. And it's just heartbreaking to see what's going on over there. And it really puts it in perspective because what a strange time that this war has begun. And it just so happened to be, I think you were the first one to text me last Saturday when I drove to pick you up in Austin. You had texted me first thing in the morning, like, oh, we're going to war. And I was like, oh, here we go. And it just so happened that that was happening, and people were losing their lives and their loved ones and kids and wives. And I was going to spend a great week on the farm in Virginia with my family and close loved ones, and get to hang out with you and your family. And, it hits differently that it just so happened to be this week. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it does. It's so important to keep those things close to you, the things that we can always go back to as fathers, our family, our friends. Those are the things you want to stay close to and stay connected to. And that's really what the crux of this episode is, because we did a lot of that, both of us, either together or with our families over this last week. And I'll tell you what, man, times are always better when you're with your family. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, it's insane. Being back in Tucson for a day, and you're just like, man, do you miss that sometimes? You know what I mean? Everyone's there. Everyone that you're surrounded with has your back, through thick and thin, through tribulations and things like that, good and bad. There's someone there for you. That's a true benefit to when you're next to family, you know what I mean? Versus when you're not next to family. Like, you're in Nashville by yourself, you and Case and the kids. We're in Tucson by ourselves. You know what I mean? But when you get back together, whether it's once a year or twice a year or every other year, it makes it you just get it's a different feeling. You know what I mean? You leave that time, whether it's short or a long time, you leave that time. And it's hard to grasp it because we've lived in Virginia for a year. And in the beginning, we had that feeling, right? And then it kind of goes away once everyone gets consumed by their daily lives. And you don't really realize it until you're gone again. That you're like, holy shit, dude, this is so important. Being close to family in times of trouble.
Yeah, we take for granted those things that are so important, and it's so easy to let that happen. And it's not until you don't have it anymore that you really realize how special it is, and how important it is to your psyche and to your everyday life when you have those things in your life on a regular basis versus, like you said, having them once or twice a year.
And it's so noticeable. Like I said, even just being back in Tucson for a day, like the quality of like your overall happiness, right? It seems like life is when you're around your family and there's someone there to be with and talk to. Like, it's simpler. Life is simpler. You're happier. You're not in the daily, not that like life's all carnivals and roses but it's a different feeling.
Well, it's interesting too for you. I mean, most of the time people will go away on vacation, right? And vacation. You always feel better on vacation because you don't have a lot of those things that you normally deal with in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
But you and Andine both work from home. Now, Andine didn't work the week that you were gone, but you did. You worked the entire time.
Yeah.
You were working on deals and closing loans, making sure those things happen. And you still had that feeling like it's more peaceful here. It's more peaceful in a different place when you're around your family. Take the fact that you like vacation, because you weren't on vacation.
Yeah.
You actually worked your ass off, and with all the driving involved in it too, it made it more stressful in that regard. So it shows the value of those things that we're talking about.
Yeah, no. And let's talk about that drive for a minute. For a hot second here, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the 4,500 miles that I drove in the last 7 days, and it started with a fiasco. First of all, you and I spent a bunch of time in the car together from Austin to Nashville, and shout out to Carp. We did not record an episode. He's like, you guys should just record an episode while you're driving because you're going to be together for that many hours. You should just record, but logistically it just didn't work because, with a computer and a mic and us driving I can only imagine how shitty the quality been if we were recording with our phones or something like that. It would have been terrible.
And it was pitch black.
Yeah, it would have been an audio
the entire time we drove together until the last hour and a half.
Yeah. It would have been an audio only podcast. But anyway, so today's Tuesday when this comes out. We're recording Monday, but last Friday was the red cheese fiasco. Remember in Practical Jokers when we're doing the dinner menu? I called it. It's not a red cheese fiasco. It was a rental car fiasco. The moral of the story: don't rent a car. Rental car companies are idiots, and I don't have any credit cards. We don't do credit cards, so we only have a debit card. And we've rented we rented a car with a debit card before. Little did I know they let you rent one online, prepay it when you use a debit card, which is fine. I prepaid the $725 or whatever it was online for the rental car. Get to the rental car counter. First thing they tell me is they don't have a car after I paid the money and they said what car I was getting. Then they said, I can get a sports car. And then they said I could get a Infiniti QX80. I said, well, I might as well drive my truck because that's a V8, 400 horsepower. I might as well drive my truck across the country. And then all that was moot anyways because the lady told me that no, if you rent, so this is a good public service announcement for all you debt-free people that do debit cards. You cannot rent a car from the airport counter with a debit card. You have to rent it in town at a rental car agency. They will not allow it at a rent.
Well, you can. No, you can, but you have to have a return flight.
Yes, you have to have an itinerary. So you have to be flying into that place with a return flight out of that place, and they can let you use a debit card.
Yes.
Which is just ridiculous all around. And I get it if you're, if there's going to be an accident or something and you only paid for the rental car and they can't charge your debit card more, but they can do that to your credit card or whatever, even though it's the same thing, But the moral of the story is don't rent a car. Just drive yourself or don't drive yourself or fly or whatever the hell you do. You know what I mean?
I tell you every week, man, when I land in Austin, I always have the same guy at the rental car counter. We go through the same rigmarole every fucking time. And it's just a running joke. Yeah. And he never remembers me. I see him every single week. Yeah. And we go through the same thing every single time. He always wants me to give him my debit card. It's prepaid by the company that I'm traveling with. And I never give my debit card. And I always tell him, I'm not giving you my debit card. And it's just the funniest thing because we just go round and around for about 5-10 minutes. Now I finally just bypass his line. I go upstairs and tell him that the guy can't figure out how to help me because he never can. And they just take care of me upstairs and I move along with my day. But yeah, rental cars are terrible. It's an awful thing. It's a racket. And make too much money for what they're giving you. And yeah, moral of the story today, don't rent a rental car.
Yeah, no, if you can avoid a rental car by all accounts, please avoid a rental car. But that's how it started. But the problem is I had already prepaid for the rental car, was excited to pick it up, get it and get packed and stuff, and then was going to leave Saturday morning. So long end of the short stick, whatever. I leave Saturday morning in our own vehicle and leave at 2:30. All right, start driving. And I drive all the way to Austin, Texas, where Dave was working on the weekend. I drive all the way to Austin, Texas, pick up Dave. I get to Austin, and now I drove I-10 the whole way. So instead of going 20 to Dallas, I took the 10, which takes the southern route across Texas. I went across I-10 the whole way towards San Antonio. Absolutely nothing to see the entire ride. There's literally nothing in West Texas. You've heard me say that before. West Texas is oil fields, windmills, and dirt. That's it. There's nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else in West Texas. And we always, I always make my pit stop in Van Horn, Texas. It's my favorite, one of my favorite places in the world to stop, for no reason whatsoever other than of its location. And with the dog, we stopped, roughly every 150 to 200 miles, let the dog out. And I got to Austin, Texas, Friday night at 8:00, just a little bit before 8:00. So what's that math? 2:30 to 2:30 is 12 plus 6. So was it 18 hours? Oh, but plus I lost 2 hours, right? I lost 2 hours. So it was really 16 hours of driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. 16 hours of driving.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. 16 hours to get to Austin. I picked Dave up in downtown Austin and we start.
Right outside the Hampton Inn.
Right outside the Hampton Inn in Austin. And we get going on the road. And I'm still driving at this point. Now I'm juiced up. I picked up Dave. We're ready to rock and roll. We got a long drive to Nashville. And Dave's giving me directions to how to get
Mind you, I could have taken a 7:00 flight out of Austin that night and been home in my bed by 9:30.
Yeah.
And here I am at 8:00 hopping in the car with you.
Yeah. And so Dave gives me directions to get out of Austin because I had never driven around Austin before. By the way, never will ever again. What an awful city to drive in. Construction everywhere. Just ridiculous. So I get out of Austin finally, and we get going north towards Dallas. And first Buc-ee's we see, I don't know, what is it, 40 minutes out of town, probably? 40, 45 minutes out of town?
Yeah.
We're pulling to Buc-ee's. And as you know, Buc-ee's is our favorite stop with the kids. So we went into Buc-ee's. Fuel is cheaper at Buc-ee's. It's always $2 and something. I don't know how they do it, but it's always cheaper there than everywhere else in the country. Stopped at Buc-ee's, let Pepper eat dinner. And Dave gets in the old pilot chair and starts driving. Now, granted, I had already driven, 18 hours, 17, 18 hours. And I was like, all right, Dave's going to drive. So I stay awake with him for a while. And as the night rolls on, I'm in and out of consciousness, trying to sleep. And Dean, meanwhile, her flight's delayed due to what? The manifest, the freaking paperwork. It was paperwork. So Andine was taking the red eye from Phoenix to Boston, Boston to Raleigh. Their flight was supposed to leave at 10 o'clock or 10:10 on Saturday night. They didn't end up leaving until almost 11 o'clock, which put everybody on alert because they only had an hour layover in Boston from Boston to Raleigh. Long story short, they made it. They made up a bunch of time in the air, like Dave, you said they're going to make up a bunch of time in the air going west to east. They made it in time to get to Boston, but I was sleeping. So Andy was texting Dave this whole time. I was sleeping. I had no idea what the hell was going on until I woke up from one of my snoozes, and Dave's like, "Hey, your wife was 45 minutes late leaving." I was like, "Oh shit, here we go." And go ahead.
I don't even know what to say. It was just a night. I mean, quarantining with the girls, having to get through the airport. Red eyes are never fun to begin with. And the fact that you're just sitting there hoping you make your connection in Boston on the other side of the country the next morning.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what it did is it gave us targets to beat them. Yeah. And that's what I liked about it. It gave me something to stay focused on.
Yeah.
And go. And the great thing was I knew, all right, we got to get to Memphis before they get to Boston. Then we got to get to Nashville before they get to before they get all the way there, and before Jeff picked them up. And we stayed pretty close to that. Stayed pretty close to that timeline. And I will say, you were in and out of consciousness a lot. We were out in the middle of nowhere once we got past Dallas. And thankfully there was some college football on. I was able to put the audio on in the background and listen to some good college football. Kept me awake, kept me alert, because sometimes those overnight drives they can be very monotonous when you're in no cities. It's just pitch black out and you only see a set of headlights coming the other direction every once in a while. So thankfully we had some entertainment along the way.
Yeah, Dave drove 500 miles of that trip, and then he was getting real tired, and I had woke back up, and I was still tired. And I was like, all right, let's get to Memphis. He's like, all right, you take over in Memphis. So we got to just before we crossed the bridge in Memphis there, stopped, fueled up. And then it's about 3 hours to Nashville from there. And I finished the drive off back to Nashville as the sun was coming up, blinding me in the eyes, headed straight east, and trying not to fall asleep. Dave's trying to catch some snooze over on the passenger seat. Impossible to do with the sun blasting in his face. It was quite the adventure. We get to Nashville, and all I wanted to do was brush my teeth. Like, get to Nashville, brush my teeth, get to Dave's house, hang out for an hour. And here I am, like, dude, I'm smoked. I slept maybe 2 hours. 3 hours before I left at 2:30 the previous morning. 2 hours through the night with Dave while he was driving. And I still got to go 600 miles to Virginia. And that was that part of the drive. I left Dave's at 11 o'clock Nashville time. I knew I was going to lose an hour going east. I got to a Buc-ee's in Sevierville, Tennessee, just east of Knoxville. And that was 230 miles from your house. And I said, I'm not stopping anymore. I'm just getting to Virginia. And the last 400 miles straight, I did not stop. The dog didn't get out. I didn't get out to pee. I said, I don't give a shit. I'm getting to Virginia. And I did. I went 400 miles. I was in Virginia by 10 o'clock. And I was just like so relieved when I pulled into the driveway of the farm. And I was just like, oh, deep breath. I made it. Now I just want to go to sleep. You know what I mean? But the problem was it was Sunday night, and I knew I had to get up in the morning on Monday because it was work. And I was working the whole time I was there. So got to Virginia, and we spent an entire week at the farm. It was just a phenomenal, phenomenal week. It was capped with Andine's grandfather passed away over the summer. And this kind of ties into the family thing. And before Andine's grandfather passed away, he was just almost 90 when he passed away. His wish was to be cremated and to have his ashes poured out at the farm out in the field, because that was in his dying wishes. He wanted to be poured out in the field because Andine's grandfather loved horses, working with horses in the field, cows, you name it, the farm life, the Pennsylvania Dutch life he loved more than anything. So we had a great little ceremony, a real tearjerker for Andine's family, but her cousins were there. I think there was 19 of them. Came down from Connecticut and parts of Virginia. Cousin flew in from another spot, and there was 19 of them, and they all spoke and poured out the ashes, and it makes you realize how fragile life is, but how important those moments are to be together with each other, because like I said in the beginning of the show, like those are the most important moments of your life, is being with your family, knowing you have someone there and you're away from just the hustle and bustle. Like, and it was just such a great ceremony. And it's crazy, man. But you really, when someone, obviously every time somebody passes away, it puts things in perspective, but for his wish to be poured out in ashes at the field, and that was the simple life, right? Farming, old school farming, was just, it touched my heart. I know there was, like I said, it was a real tearjerker for all of Andine's family there. And Pop Up the Road was a great guy. Like, I'd known him for 15 years. You know, he was a great guy. So a life well lived, and it was a good moment to be there. But like I said, it puts it into perspective. And I saw a quote this week, because another person that I don't know personally, but I've been following their journey. Your father watches a show called Keep Your Daydream on YouTube. We've been watching it for years. And it's a camping family. And they one day said, doesn't matter how small you start, you got to start, because you never will. And they started their show on YouTube. It had to be 7 years ago now. And they said, we're going on the road for 6 months. That's the crux of the show. They sold their house, and they were going on the road and living their camper, their travel trailer, for 6 months, 3 kids on the road. And they were just going to tour the country 6 months and then end up back in Phoenix, where they're from. Well, 6 months has turned into this whole entire thing now, where they live on their camper. They have an Airstream. They still have a house in Florida, and they have a house in Arizona that they Airbnb. But the moral of the story is, his name is Mark. Mark and Trish are from Keep Your Daydream. Mark's father passed away recently. So he made a post on Instagram about the memorial and pictures and all those other things. And he reiterated why they started their journey and just gave everything up, the corporate job, the corporate lifestyle, the money, just to go make memories with their family in the camper and become full-time camping families. And he made a post, and I took a sentence from it. And he said, memories appreciate, materials depreciate. And it really, really hit me hard that happened the same week that we were doing the ashes. And I'm like, you know what? It's so true, because we spend as much time as we can in the camper, and material things are so freaking stupid. People get hung up on material shit, cars and fucking houses and vacations, when really deep down inside, it's just the memories that you make with your fucking loved ones that forever in your heart, forever in your mind, and grow over time. Where the material bullshit that everybody needs to have to keep up with the Joneses, it depreciates, right? And it's, I don't know, it's just kind of like hit me pretty hard this week, knowing, hey, maybe there's more to life than just chasing money in your fucking bank account, or chasing the next great thing.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right there. And it sounds like it was an amazing week, and it is important. I mean, every material thing we have depreciates, but those times that you get to spend with your family, with your friends, you'll have forever. Those are the things, and I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but even just like when you guys stopped in, like, those are memories that we'll have for until the next time we see each other. And that's so important, because something that you buy, something that you're chasing, something that you're, Christmas is coming, all those types of things, you forget what you get most of the time, but those memories, they stay with you forever.
Yeah. And another thing, it's another fitting, a song came out this week by Dan and Shay, their country duo, called Bigger Houses. And I encourage everyone to go listen to it, because it really, it hit on, you know what I mean? Like, you're never going to be satisfied if, like, what you have isn't enough. You know what I mean? They touch on that in the song, and it's the truth. You're never going to be satisfied if you're always chasing the next best thing, or if what you have, you feels like, oh, it's just not good enough. And that's huge, so go listen to that song, Bigger Houses, by Dan and Shay. And then the third thing that came out of the week is, man, I love my wife to death, but man, do we overpack. Holy Christ. there's shit that never even came out of the fucking car. And I'm like, you know what? We just need to pack. Like, I think I wore like this 2 pairs of shorts or two pairs of shorts the whole week. And it's like, we got this suitcase and another bag. And it's like, man, just if you think you have enough, you have too much when you're going on a trip, man. You're never going to wear all the fucking clothes you bring. Never. Especially if you're going somewhere
Nope.
with a washing
No.
machine.
Absolutely. Oh, we finally started doing because we used to do that all the time. Now, if we go somewhere and stay in an Airbnb or something, or we're going back staying with family or friends, like, yeah, you bring enough for a few days worth of clothes and you just
Do a little
wash
laundry.
and reuse, wash and reuse. Yeah, who cares? So much
Yeah.
better than packing too much stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because like there were so many things that we didn't eat, and we accumulated stuff when we were there that came back that just added to everything that we
Hmm.
had. But no, overall, great week. Kids got the right horses. Cows, a couple baby cows were born while we were there, which was cool. The chickens and cousins, and it was just an awesome week. And all the kids, they were all together. All the grandkids or great grandkids of Papa's, they all got matching cousin shirts, so they all were wearing the same shirt for a couple of photos. And I mean, I'm pretty sure Caroline and Finley never got off because they have a playground there at the farm. I'm pretty sure they never stepped. They were with their cousins outside from sun up to sundown every single day, and it was just awesome. They were done at the end of the day, just completely filthy and just it was super super awesome. But as everything goes, you got to wrap it up and head back home, and that's what we did on Friday night. We packed everything up, so we were ready to rock and roll early Saturday morning. We left Virginia Saturday morning at 6:45, 6:40, 6:30, something like that, and drove for the first 4 hours in downpour, torrential downpour rain. And when we left Virginia,
East Coast for you.
itinerary back to Dave's, and we drove, made a couple stops along the way, did the 600 miles back west on the 40. Drove through the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains, which my wife and kids have never been through before. So that was awesome. They got to see all the cool mountains. Well, not really mountains, the hills in North Carolina. And got into Tennessee, stopped at a Buc-ee's. Worst decision ever because it was the one outside of Knoxville 2 hours before kickoff. And Tennessee was playing A&M at Neyland. And that was a disaster. You couldn't find a place to get gas. Couldn't find a place to park. But you can't miss Buc-ee's because we just don't miss Buc-ee's. When we see them, we stop. And the best part about, besides the whole week of family was Saturday afternoon. We got to Dave's about 3:30, 3:45, something like that.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and had a great Traeger meal. Dave had already planned out all the Traeger. He asked us what we wanted. So we had tri-tip, burgers, wings, chicken breast on the Traeger, blueberry slab pie for dessert. But it was such a good pit stop because we got there. It was still daylight. We got to play football with the kids. We got to watch college football. Dave was cooking. The kids were playing Kendall and Caroline together. Madison was beating up on Bryce in football a little bit. Finley was just doing Finley things, playing with all Kendall's toys and just minding her own business. And it was awesome. Let our wives catch up together, and they hadn't seen each other in a long time. And just you and I got to just bullshit, hang out, no rush. We had decided a couple days prior that we were gonna get to you, and we weren't gonna just stop, quick, eat, and leave. We said, "The hell with that. We're gonna make a memory out of it." And that's exactly what we did. We stayed with you guys through the night, finally went to bed about 9:30, 10 o'clock. We took a walk. We saw the Halloween decorations in your neighborhood. I mean, it was just a great time. And then kids got to take showers and refresh, brush their teeth. And we went to bed in your guest room up there and left Nashville at 2:30 Sunday morning.
Yeah, man, it's bananas. That was probably one of the fastest nights I've had to go by in a long time.
Yeah.
And how well did it work out that Texas was on a bye this week and I actually got to be home?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, dude, that's a higher power, making sure everything works itself out. Because it was phenomenal. I had such a great time. One of the ways I show my love to people is through food. I love cooking and I love making memories that way. So yeah, it was all right. What does everybody want to eat? And you all, of course, have different things that you love on the Traeger. Of course, why can't there just be one thing? So we went with 4 different things. I just need Finley to come up with something that she loves, and we'll make sure that she gets taken care of next time too. But yeah, man, it was a great afternoon. We got to cook some great food, getting a chance to throw the football. Bryce had such a fun time playing with the girls and playing with you, throwing the football around. That was a lot of fun. I think he was ragging on you because, as we've decided, you are not a quarterback.
Nope.
Never will be. So I think Bryce liked throwing that around with you too. But yeah, man, it was great. it it's weird how like our memories bring back things from our past. And like hearing the kids run around the house, screaming, yelling, having a good time, just like the way that they always used to when we lived around the corner from each other. It just brought that like back almost instantaneously to me. And almost, it was like I teleported back in time to Arizona and just like thinking about those memories that we had there. So it was fantastic. It was short, but it was amazing. And so glad you guys made the time to stop.
Yeah, for sure. It was a great time. And you know, like I said, we hung out and did all those fun things, and then we took off and we left Tucson or left Nashville at 2:30 Nashville time. Um I got to Memphis before the sun was up. It was raining. It had, you know, a little bit of mist in the air, and that's when Andine did her first little stint driving, so I could try to catch a little shut eye. And then she did a couple 100 miles, and then switched back, made our way to Texas, you know, across Arkansas, Texas, Bucky's one more time. And then the real crux of the drive is driving from freaking once you get to Dallas and you know, oh, we made to Dallas, and it's just it's fool's gold, man, because it is people just it cannot be understated and it cannot be underestimated how big Texas is. You think, oh, I'm in Dallas, I just got to get to Abilene, Abilene to Midland, Midland to Van Horn, Van Horn to El Paso. Dude, it's over 800 miles.
Massive.
And everyone's like, oh, it's only 800 miles. It'll be done in a few hours. No, even if you go Texas speed limit, which is 80, that is still 10 hours to get across the state without stopping. And we stopped, you know, like I said, we stopped every few 100 miles. Finally made the final pit stop. Andine did her last little bit of driving into Van Horn. Stopped at the Loves, topped off, and that was a long drive for me. That was the worst part of the drive because I wanted to get to Wilcox without stopping, which was like 300 miles or 350 miles. I'm like, I want to get to Wilcox. That will get me through from Van Horn. That'll get me through El Paso, through Las Cruces, through Deming to Wilcox. Well, when we were following our GPS, all of a sudden I-10 in Deming was closed. So I'm like, what? And like it kept rerouting us around Deming, either to the south, taking the 9 along the border. I'm like, I'm not driving along the border in the middle of the night. I'm just not doing it. Like I'm very, very confident in myself, and I have a fur missile in the back seat that will kill anything I tell her to. But I'm still not driving along the southern border, literally on the 9, along the southern border of New Mexico in Mexico in the middle of the night. I'm just not doing it. So I went up to Las Cruces and around that way, which added about 40 minutes to the drive overall. And that was a 315-mile stretch where that whole 5 hours, everybody slept. It was just me. It was me in the road. The dog was sleeping. Everyone was sleeping. And I made it all the way to Lordsburg because I had to pee really bad. I really wanted to get to Wilcox, which would have been like another 50 miles. But I had to pee so bad, dude. Pull off in Lordsburg at a Love's, top off. Andine had like just woken up from 5 hours of sleep, and the kids and everyone went out and peed. Let the dog out to pee. And the real kick in the balls is whatever, you make what you will of the border. All of a sudden, where it's 1 a.m. and we're in freaking Lordsburg, 20 miles from the Arizona border, and a Greyhound bus full of illegal immigrants just pulls in, and they all get out of the Greyhound bus and go in the Loves, and they're all taking selfies with their phones and shit, and all they have with them is the fucking possession in their plastic bag, and they're going into Loves to use the bathroom and everything else. And I'm just like, man, this country needs help. And Andine took off. We were 140 miles from home from there. And so Andine said, I'm good now. She had gotten a decent amount of sleep and rest, and set the cruise control at 80 and just kept on keeping on. And I slept for probably, I don't know, an hour or so, and woke up with about 50 miles to go. And then Andine and I just chit-chatted while the kids slept in the back all the way home. So the left Nashville at 2:30 a.m. Sunday, got to Tucson at 2:45 a.m. Monday. So 24 hours and 15 minutes, but really 26 hours and 15 minutes because we lost the 2 hours. We technically gained 2 hours coming back home. So if we had stayed in the same time zone, it would have been 4:45 when we had gotten home. And got home, and you know me, I'm a savage. I can't just pull in the driveway and shut the car off. I need to unpack the whole thing. So I unpacked the whole car. Madison went right to bed. Caroline, Finley, and Andine all took showers, and I unpacked the car. And then I took a quick shower. And then Madison actually went to school this morning, and she wanted to. So she got enough sleep in the car, and then she slept from 3, and I woke her up at 7. And she went to school. She wanted to go to school, but we gave Caroline and Finley the day off just because of the drive and everything else, and they were cool with that. So But yeah, so that was one hell of a week. Coming off the previous week of running the 50 miler, Dave being in Texas with everybody, it just was a really, really wild, busy 2 weeks, 2 weeks in a couple of days, man. I'll tell you.
With family and with friends.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important takeaway here, everybody. It's the things you do in life, the memories you create are with your family and your friends. And I think those couple of weeks really sum it up.
Yep.
Sum it up for both of us. And there's things you can do maybe to make your life a little easier. But at what cost? You know, because some of those memories you guys share throughout that journey wouldn't have happened had you just flown across the country.
Yeah, and I give a lot.
There's something to be said for that.
A lot of credit to the kids. They were troopers, man. That's a long drive for kids. You've done it with kids, 24-hour drives across the country. I mean, it's a long drive for the kids. When we have the camper, it's a little different because we always stop and we have the camper and a kitchen and a bathroom and a place to sleep and beds and all that stuff. When you're doing it with nothing, you know. And then I'm glad all three girls slept. All three girls slept through the border patrol checkpoint. And guy puts his flashlight in the window. You know, it's 1 a.m. or whatever time it was, midnight. And he's like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing, sir? How many you got in the car? Are you just traveling with your family?" And just doing his job, you know. And I was like, "Yeah, 5 of us and the dog, just cruising along." He's like, "Man, I can't believe." And then I started asking questions about the shutdown. He's like, "Yeah, it's so stupid, man." And he felt, you know, because he goes, "It's such a detour to go around Las Cruces to the north towards Albuquerque, you know, to hook back around." Yeah. He said it added 40 miles to the drive, and at midnight, an extra 40 miles isn't fun when you haven't had any sleep, you know. And you're driving on the most desolate, dark roads. But the kids did phenomenal. The memories that we made, I mean, it just overall just was spot on. Like you said, family, friends, make the memories they appreciate in your brain forever. Take pictures, hug, kiss, laugh, make phone calls, send text messages to people. You know, if anything, it's a subtle reminder that how fragile life is, man. Just pick up your phone when you're listening to this podcast, or tomorrow or tonight or right now, and just scroll through your phone and just look at all the names of people that you maybe haven't talked or texted in a while that mean something to you. Just shoot them a text. And I appreciate you being in my life. I love you. Miss you. You know, do that, you know, and it really makes a difference. That's about all I got on my end. Dave, what about you?
That's it, man. That was fun. I'm glad you're back to Tucson safe. Now we just got to plan the next get together for the Full Force Fathers.
Sounds good to me.
All right, fantastic. And it probably won't be during spring break of next year because tickets are $995 a piece.
Just drive.
Yeah, just drive. Yeah, just drive. Yep. I think it sounds like a great idea. Pile in the old 430 and off we go.
Yeah, we'll see how much gas. We'll see how high gas prices are by then.
True. I'll tell you what though, I'll leave Bear at home.
Yeah, leave Bear at home.
He's not coming with me. We're not jamming his ass in the car, so he can stay at home.
Pepper doesn't like him anyways.
No, they didn't get off on the best of legs.
It's so funny. That's okay. We're not going down that road right now, but for some reason Pepper just didn't get along with Bear great. But when we were at the farm the whole week, there's a male dog and my father-in-law's dog there, and Pepper had the best time the entire week, just running around playing grab ass with 2 other dogs the entire week.
Yeah, that's all good. All right, man, you got anything else for today?
No, that's it, man. Take us home.
All right, everybody, get out there, continue to live the full force life. Remember, family, friends, those are the most important things. Memories appreciate, possessions, material things, they depreciate. Remember that. See you next week.